Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for January 13th, Canadian edition. I will be releasing today also the US edition, where I'm going to be looking at the civil unrest, and particularly there's a lot of talk about the 17th and what may or may not go on then. But for right now, I thought I would just do a short video and just kind of check in to see how we're doing here in Canada. So I think on Monday or Sunday, we had just upward of 660,000 COVID cases in all of Canada since the beginning. And, you know, for the most part, amid some grumbling, but for the most part, the provinces are involved in lockdowns to one degree or another. And that does seem to be, flattening that curve or stemming the tide, but the numbers are still high. And so, Prime Minister Trudeau has once again started making, or is more visible again. For a while, at the beginning, he was making sort of those every morning news conferences. He's a little bit more visible again. He had kind of, stepped back a bit over the warmer months. So let's just quickly take a quick look and see what's happening in Canada. And then we'll know. Come on down, I have a question. Okay, tell me about Canada. Tell me about Canada. Tell me about Canada. This is just going to be a broad overview, general reading. Okay. All right. So, by and large, people are very pleased, somewhat pleased, relatively happy with the jobs their provincial governments are doing, and by extension, the jobs that the federal government is doing. It is costing Canada a lot of money, but one of the blessings is that it is able to keep things afloat. The restaurant industry, that service industry, they are taking a very, very hard hit, as are, spas, salons, that kind of thing. But there are many businesses that are able to continue to move forward, and in limited ways, in restricted ways, but they are continuing to be able to keep the doors opened and move forward. And so in some ways, even the most, strictest of lockdowns, if you will, are more tolerable, because by and large, people are able to continue to function in a slightly altered way that has become the new normal, but indeed, they are able to continuing functioning. For anybody who is distracted by that ball right there, I can't do that very well, right there. It is the reflection of light, okay? So it's not a giant orb that has hit bottom, it's just a reflection of the sun coming in and hitting that particular spot in the wall. Okay. Now, there is going to come a time where there's going to be a lot more questioning about, was that money spent right, or was it spent properly? I know that there's some confusion going on about the Emergency Relief Benefit, the ERB, and, they're saying that some stuff wasn't very clear from the get-go, and some people are being asked to return money. But again, by and large, the money continues to flow so that people can continue to whatever degree function. We have had, generally speaking, in Canada, a relatively mild winter so far. And so that also, I think, to some degree, is playing a role in helping to sort of slow down the acceleration of numbers. Like pretty much every other country, the vaccine rollout, there was a lot of chatter around that. There's, was it done the right way? Were the decisions, who was handling that? Why is it this way? Why is this happening? And there's a lot of squabbling, but this is the reality. The opposition parties don't really have a lot else to squabble about, because even some of the real sort of staunch conservatives, and there are members who were, muttering and mumbling about, well, my freedoms are being taken away from me. But for the most part, people just sort of look at that and roll their eyes and go like, come on, get a grip. This is really serious. Here in Alberta, and I know that it happened in Ontario. I don't know about other provinces because honestly, I'm a little busy with the United States stuff. But a lot of people that should not, government employees, government officials, people who should not have traveled over the Christmas, New Year's holiday did. And there has been dramatic backlash for that. We have very, very strict rules about coming back into the country and quarantining. For any of you who are wondering, if you have returned from the country, from outside of the country, and you do not quarantine for 14 days, you can be fined up to $750,000, $750,000 for not following our quarantine regulations and standards. And so all those people who were foolish enough to send pictures of themselves over the holidays from Hawaii and from Mexico are now facing the price of that. Not that they've been charged, but that they have really had to sustain a lot of backlash, as have the provincial premiers, because it's their staff that's doing that. So when people talk about their freedoms and their liberties, for the most part, people are sort of done hearing about that. And they're saying, don't you dare do anything else to jeopardize our health and well-being. We're making enough sacrifices. So there's some squabbling that's going on there. But I have to tell you, it really feels like they're not going to actually be able to hold on to that sort of rhetoric, because there is now the new strains coming. I am pretty sure that there is a case or two in Canada, I hope I'm not misspeaking, of the UK strain. And there is also a case here in Alberta of the African strain. So people are aware that this stuff is coming from all over the world. And there is, by and large, a real sense of let's just do what needs to be done to get through this. And as a result, the politicians, both provincial and federally, are in a good place. Although I must say, Alberta's premier is being lambasted every time he turns around, and deservedly so. He enjoys the worst approval rating of any premier in the entire country by a significant amount, like 20 or so points. So really, he's like in the basement. But, for the most part, you have politicians who are able to, they're reaping some benefit from this. At least they're not, they're strengthening their position, because overall it feels like Canadians feel as if things are being handled as best they can be, or they're satisfied with the way they're being handled. Have to tell you, Canada is also very, very much looking forward to Donald Trump being removed from office, leaving office. They are really looking forward to the Biden-Harris administration come in. And there is an anticipation or an expectation that the two countries will once again be able to start working together cohesively. I do not know, but I would expect Mexico probably feels very, very much the same way. So there is an anticipation, even in Canada, that some of the insanity is going to be able to get dialed back after the inauguration. And for those premiers who kind of like the one here in Alberta, who were sort of referred to as Trump light, I think this is a very good wake-up call for them in terms of, maybe that's not really a path you want to go down. All right, let's take a look and see what we can figure out going forward here. Okay, so there is going to continue to be sort of this juggling thing that goes on in terms of how things are opened, what is closed, trying to balance what's, what will work and what won't work. This situation, as I'm sure in every other country, is not static. It is in a perpetual state of flux. And what was working at the beginning of a month may very well not be working at the end of the month. So everything is in a continual state of flux. And that is allowing Canadians overall to be able to stay afloat and kind of sail relatively smoothly over some of the worst of the bumps. The vaccine rollout is coming under fire, again, as I think it is probably everywhere, but it feels as if, I almost want to say sort of by the middle of February time, things are going to be moving in a much more smooth, kind of an easy flow sort of energy. So that is also really, really something to look forward to and focus on. This has definitely been a period of introspection, a period where people are looking at their choices, at the lives they lead, at what occupies their time, and really evaluating what is important and what, frankly, is maybe not as important as it might have been this time last year. And so there's going to be some shifting dynamics that go on. And I can tell you that as businesses start loosening things up, there is not going to be no quick return to normal. It is very, very much going to be a slower return to something that becomes our new normal. And there is not going to, it's not going to be like a light switch. It's going to be like, climbing a set of stairs, step by step. Things will loosen. Then they might get pulled back a little bit. Then they'll loosen again. But for a lot of people who are now working at home, who typically would be in an office environment, they would be somewhere other than home to do their work. A lot of you are going to actually continue to work from home. There is going to be a much slower or more gradual return to ramping things up, because there is that sense that, until, frankly, enough people are vaccinated to create that kind of herd immunity, companies are not, frankly, willing to take a chance on bringing everybody back and then getting themselves into some really hot water because they didn't do it correctly or they put people at risk. So for those of you who are enjoying working at home, carry on, because it looks like you're going to continue to be there for a while. The country, whether it feels like it or not, is moving towards a stability. There is a lot of anxiety, and some people continue to focus on what's going to make them happy and what they think they deserve and should have. But by and large, people are thinking about the country as a whole, about their neighborhoods, their communities, their cities, their towns, their provinces as a whole. And so again, generally speaking, you have a lot of people who are far more on board with maintaining, physical distancing and wearing masks and washing your hands than you do have with those who are against it. Unlike, for example, some other countries where it is sort of like a 60-40 or a 30-70. There's a little bit more balance here in this country. And that too is really, really going to be helpful in terms of us being able to move out of the sort of rougher place we're in and move into something that is much smoother and just more able to make some ground. There is a sense that as things sort of start picking up, and this is even including with the vaccine being made available and being distributed and getting into the people, shot by shot, it feels as if I just want to say, I don't know why, but it feels as if things are going to start picking up and moving a lot more smoothly, literally over the course of the next few weeks. There's going to be a distinct difference between what's going on like now and what may very well be going on by the middle of February, let's say, 30, couple of days from now. So that's really, really good news. There is going to be there's going to be sort of a monitoring, if you will, ensuring that the best possible outcomes can be achieved. And by and large, politicians have a very, very clear idea of what kind of reception or reaction they would get if they were not doing things that was in accordance with the highest degree of safety for their constituents. And that is not only physical safety, but that is also mental and emotional safety. There is clarity about people's mental health in this situation, and there is a lot that is being done, and there will continue to be more and more done to trying to keep those at risk in as healthy a place as possible. It does not hurt that, Justin Trudeau, I think, has a bit of a soft spot in his heart for mental health issues, very much like he has a soft spot in his heart for the value of education and the well-being of students. It really does feel in some ways that because there has been closer adherence to some of the rules and regulations, as things move towards, I want to say March, April, you are really going to see sort of the fortunes of the country shifting up. So it feels as if there is going to be, by that point, you may very well see a picking up of things opening up carefully. And again, step by step, this is not ever going to be a light switch situation. But it definitely feels as if there is going to be that movement forward. And again, with Joe Biden in the presidency, that also makes for a far more secure and better relationship between the two countries. And so that is also something that is going to be helpful, frankly, for both countries. Okay, so You know, remember this. This situation with COVID and the economic, pretty much collapse of global economies has been shocking. It has been dramatic. It has been upsetting. It has created all kinds of issues and problems. But it has also made way for clarity. It has also made way for that sense of really, really figuring out where you want your energy to go and your priorities to go, because there is now a lot more clarity about what it is that makes me happy. Where do I want to put my time and energy? And, people still have to maintain their life, right? There are still rent to pay and mortgage payments to be made and, lights to be kept on and food on the table. But there is a sort of a shifting of what that looks like sort of in a new normal. And as the days go by, more and more people are really coming to understand that there is a forward, new dynamic that is coming into play. And for the most part, I think people who have been able to take advantage to one degree or another of the past year and sort of that stillness that many of us have experienced and continue to go through, there really has afforded a lot of people the opportunity to figure out where their priorities are and what's really, really important to them. I want to say that provincial governments that are not liberal, okay, so they wouldn't align themselves necessarily with the Trudeau government, there is going to be some real nitpicking and some attacks. I mean, the opposition does what the opposition does, but some of this could get very, very intense. But it feels as if while it may create some turbulence going forward, and it may, create places where leadership has changed, etc., it feels like for the most part, overall, especially in the middle of this kind of a crisis, people are more inclined to sort of keep what they know and what is familiar, unless what they know and what is familiar is truly viewed as detrimental to their health or the health of their community or the country. There's a lot of hard work that is going to continue to need to be done, and frankly will be done, to continue to try to move this country into a place of continued and ongoing stability and slow, gradual, but definite growth going forward. Okay. All right. So overall, we're in not bad shape at all. The numbers are high. Anybody who has lost anybody to this terrible disease, the words I say are not going to minimize that pain. It's not going to remove the difficulties of the last year. But I hope that to some degree, on some level, it provides at least some hope that as spring comes towards us and we move towards summer, there is going to be much to be grateful for. And there is a feeling that, we're going to just be able to somehow move beyond this. And so let us all continue to look forward to that. And between now and whenever that is, stay safe. Keep those masks on, keep that physical distance, wash your hands. It's really hard month after month after month. Do not become complacent, because the new strains that are coming in are so much more transmittable. They are so much more contagious. So this is the time to really buckle down and make sure that we are all doing everything we can to keep ourselves and all of those around us safe. Until next time, take care, be well. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.